Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. That motion carries. Moving on to the presentation of the minutes from March 18th. Anyone have any changes or corrections to those? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll move to approve the minutes of March 18th, 2025 as printed and filed.
Motion by Treasurer Jackson. Do we have support?
I'll support.
Support. Any further discussion on those? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. That motion carries. Moving on to consent agenda communications. We have disbursements tonight totaling $1,650,132.
I have a question on page 8. There's up toward the middle, St. Clair County Drain Office, and then it says drain at large.
Yeah, that's an annual fee that we pay as being part of the county.
Oh, okay. And then,
I just paid that last week. So.
okay, and then down toward the bottom, that UHY professional fees, is it that bookkeeping place that we use for audit? Why are we
Correct.
still using them?
We use them for preparation for the audit, so we use them for.
Do we have an audit coming up? It's almost like $8,000 more.
Yeah, we will have an audit coming up. Yep.
Soon, like, I mean, they just kind
Yeah,
of.
I mean, we just finished the fiscal year,
just-
technically yesterday.
Okay,
So, yep.
all right,
On the drain enlargements, any drain special assessment, the township always
I
gets
didn't know
charged
if
a
that was for
portion
the
of
Stocks
that.
Creek thing, or what it
Probably
was.
part of it. We pay a portion of every drain assessment, so.
Okay. Does that come out of the taxes then, like,
Well, I
people
mean,
that live on
people,
drains like that have an assessment for
yeah,
those?
the people that are impacted, according to the Drain Commission, are included in that special assessment district, but then the township as a whole also gets charged a portion.
Okay.
All right, any other questions?
I just wondered, what are all the AT&Ts? Like, there's computer, there's phone, there's,
Utility.
utility. There's-
Yeah, so our, all of our, well, not all of them, but several of our sewer lift stations have communication in there, and they're using cellular. So each one has a separate line.
But that's not the office phones, right? Because we're getting.
No, that's not the office
And we're
phones.
getting rid of that.
Correct.
So when we switch over to our new phone station system here, and in the DBW, we're still gonna need the AT&T for that stuff?
Correct. Yep.
I don't need AT&T at DPW when we switch over.
Well, I think they want them on Comcast.
I don't,
Or
I'm not gonna need either one.
Yeah.
We're thinking about switching?
No, the DPW is gonna be on the same system as us.
Yeah.
The DPW building.
But not the lift station?
Not the lift stations.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda of $1,650,132. Pay the bills and file.
All right, motion by Treasurer Jackson. Do we have support?
I'll support.
Support by Trustee Bowen. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Jackson,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yep.
Guzekowski,
Yes.
Rubel,
Yes.
Deland,
Yes.
Lopers,
Yes.
and Riley.
Yes.
Motion
All right, next we have our boards and commissions. We have the St. Clair County Road Commission from 3-4, and then also on 3-18.
I have a couple questions about those. On page 27, they voted on a resolution for the Griswold Road Bridge over Pine River. Do you know anything, what's that about?
Well, I know if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's one that's been weight limited for a long time.
Yeah, out there by
Yeah,
Sparling Road, right? Is that?
In fact, it's one of the reasons why people use Sparling. The truck route really
Yeah.
should be Griswold and not Sparling, but because of that bridge, they use Sparling.
I didn't know if they had contacted
But I'm assuming
you.
that's I know they had applied for funding for it. I had not heard on when that funding would
And then, on the next page, on page, 29, another resolution, 25-08, Wadums Road and Dove Street, and then it just says Exhibit 8. I don't know if they, you know what that's about?
That one I don't.
No? Okay.
I will find out tomorrow.
We can find out tomorrow. All right, we'll ask you again next week, then, next meeting. All right, that's all I had.
Any other questions? All right, do we have a motion on this?
Yep, I'll make the motion that we receive and file the minutes from the County Road Commission.
All right, motion by trustee Deland. Do we have support?
I'll support.
Support by treasurer Jackson. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There are none. Moving on. Next, we have an item that we've talked about a little bit. It's actually a little bit out of order, so it's on page 122. It's in regards to public comment periods. We've had a lot of questions about that. Some misinformation from some of our speakers, unfortunately. So there are some rules that we do have to follow related to, I kind of summarized those for you. I got this information from the Attorney General's office, who publishes a guide on meeting the Open Meetings Act. I did review, and I did give to you what our rules are related to public comment. I personally, I feel they fall a little short, and I thought some clarity would be helpful. So 2.4E would be that clarity. And I'll just kind of go through it. Public comment periods are the public comment period at the beginning of the meeting, and then the audience participation at the end. Public comment being more directly related to what's on the agenda, the audience participation, whatever else anyone wants to talk about. It's at the board's discretion to allow public comment during action items. Time limits, regardless of which comment period, each speaker would be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to address the board. Time limit would be strictly enforced to ensure that all attendees have opportunity to speak. We've used that in the past with large meetings, like if we ever talk about garbage collection. And by the way, that was on, if you didn't see it, it was on Facebook this week, and my goodness, it created quite a stir. So, but we would do that just as a matter of normal routine. We would supply a visible timer once one is available. I kind of played around tonight. I think I got a temporary solution to that, so that anyone is not confused about how much time they have. Speakers do have to give their name and residence. All comments are directed to the board, not to individuals in the audience. Respectful conduct. Speakers must use respectful and civil language. Personal attacks, profanity, inflammatory remarks are prohibited. Disruptive behavior may result in removal. That is in the law, that we can remove people if they are disruptive. And written comments can always be submitted. I know I've done that personally for county board meetings. If I can't make a meeting and there's something I want to comment on, I'll submit a comment in writing, and it'll get read. The board members were not obligated to respond to public comment. Responses can be provided later or at the board's discretion. But I thought that just added some clarity. I thought the way it was written kind of was a little bit vague and not quite as precise as it needed to be. Questions, thoughts?
I think that's helpful.
Yes, I'll go through this.
Anyone else, any other comments?
No, I think it follows a good pattern for us, and I think that we should follow it.
All right, do we have a motion then on adopting 2.4E?
I'd so move.
All right, motion by trustee Riley, do we have support?
I'll support.
Support by trustee Bowen. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, there are none. Let's go on to public comment. You have anybody?
Yes, we have Edward, Amiat. You got it. Okay.
I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
Good evening.
My kids.
Edward Amiat, 6935 Frith. I technically live in St. Clair Township. However, I also have the esteemed pleasure of serving this community as a member of the Kimball Township Fire Department. Reason I'm here today is I've been watching a lot of the meetings that have been posted for the last couple of months on YouTube, and there's a lot going on, a lot of commentary that's been happening with an individual that I do not see here tonight. And I wanted to maybe address a couple of things from my perspective and shed some light on a couple of things that are definitely not being portrayed accurately in the public eye. First of all, the park. I'm a developer, I'm a builder, I buy and sell and trade a lot of property. You have done a good job on purchasing and in the acquisition of that land. You cannot get good land in St. Clair County for less than $10,000 an acre. And what you did purchasing that right on the river is a phenomenal acquisition. It's a great investment, and then these kind of uncertain times with the market, I would much rather have my township or a township that I'm affiliated with, I'd rather have some of our money in real assets. So bravo on that. Great acquisition, and the usage plan for it is phenomenal. We need that. We've got the KOA, we've got other campsites, and that is going to be a phenomenal addition to Kimball Township. Secondly, I have had the esteemed pleasure of working on your fire department since 2020. And I have learned a lot. I met some great people. I get to do a great job with these guys every day. And we've got a great organization there. Now, nothing in this world is perfect. This isn't the Saved by the Bell world. This is the real world. There's always room for improvement. And I'll tell you what I've seen in the last 5 years alone, just being at our department, when I started, we were doing less than 900 calls a year. Now we're over 1,400. There's been a lot of changes. There's been some issues, but a lot of those issues have been addressed. I am super excited with everything we have going on. We have a new water truck coming. There's improvements to our station out on Henry that are starting to happen, which it absolutely needs. And of course, I'm stationed out of that station. So I much appreciate what's going on there. I spent a lot of time away from my family there, and of course on the road, and it needs it, and I'm glad we're finally giving it some of the love that it deserves. There's also some odd accusations that I've seen in these last meetings regarding my good friend right here, Mr. Carl Lenarski. Now, I asked Carl to come here today because I know the things that transpired during that time, and Carl's a good man. I'm a United States Navy veteran. Mr. Lenarski is an Army veteran. When you serve in the United States military, your brothers and sisters until the day you take your last nap, okay? And I know how things went when Mr. Lenarski was on the department, and I know how this whole situation broke down. Sadly, the individual that I'd like to address that with, and Mr. Lenarski would like to address that with, is not here this evening. Essentially, now I'm going to speak for Mr. Lenarski, and if anything that I say is incorrect, he'll correct me. Mr. Lenarski sadly had a heart attack on a fire scene.
So we
went down.
We do got to wrap up though, because we're near our 3 minutes there already. So
I did put
restarted
him
it,
on the
but
list. Could I take his 3 minutes?
If he wants to give you his 3 minutes, I would agree to that, yes.
Would you give it to me?
Okay.
So, was that acceptable?
Yes.
All right, so Mr. Lenarski was in the hospital. A couple of guys brought a gag box to him. Maybe not the most appropriate thing, but I can assure you, when I was in the service, I've experienced and been part of far worse. And I would assume, Carl, you've probably seen about the same, brother?
Yeah, it's a different time now, but back then it was acceptable, humorous.
What were your thoughts when you received the gift?
I thought it was quite humorous, maybe distasteful, because my wife was there, she's a devout Christian lady, but I didn't take any offense to it.
So, in the process of this happening, you gotta understand, when you assimilate back to civilian life after being overseas, you're trying to fit in. You're trying to find your spot, okay? The man was trying to find a career path. He had a heart attack on the scene. And I know you weren't right at all. You weren't in the right frame of mind to have a conversation with me, let alone anybody else. Thank God for your wife. God bless her. But the individual that's not here tonight seized on that opportunity and dragged Mr. Lenarski's name through the mud. And honestly, you know, when you're talking about your professional reputation and an accusation like this of the harassment level that was, you scare the crap out of people. And because of what that individual did outside of Mr. Lenarski's want and desire, essentially ruined his reputation within the fire department. People are afraid of CJ, and he's a darn good man. So, as a direct result of what that individual did, that's why this man left the fire department. He took his good name, dragged it through the mud for his own divisive purposes, and he had no choice but to move on. You know, you and I spend time together, we smoke cigars, we talk all the time, and do you have any ill will against the department?
Not at all. I have the utmost respect for the county and the department.
We love you, have
And
you back.
everybody in there.
Appreciate you, brother. But at the end of this, we have a great department. Nothing's perfect, but through determination, utilizing the chain of command, and the proper avenues, things can change and things can get fixed. And I've seen a lot happen there. I know I have 35 seconds left. At the end of the day, we are all volunteers, all right? Yes, we're paid on call, but we are asked to leave our families, leave our warm beds in the middle of the night when somebody is having the worst moment of their day, their life, their week, their month, whatever. And we are proud to serve this community. We've got a darn good organization. We have great people that work here, and there's awesome things happening in this department. So I wanted to clear the air with this. It hit home. This man's a good friend. I saw what the individual did to him at that time in his worst moment, and I'd like to set the record straight. Thank you for your time.
Is it okay to say something real quick?
Sure.
I just want to make note that I have never, or any time period, had any type of negative effect towards chief or anybody else in the department or the department itself. I just want that to be noted that I've never wanted to pursue or have pursued any type of legal action or negative action against the department. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both for your service. Appreciate it very much. Any other public comment?
Yes. Jessica?
I even have to stand up here. but-
Jessica, just need a name and an address.
Jessica Smeeter, and I'm at 1795 Maple.
Okay.
I am just addressing the blight issue. I know there was comment on Facebook,
Yep.
and I kind of chimed in. We've been having lots of problems with my neighbor. There's 4 disabled cars, 2 boats, a jet ski in the yard. Haven't mowed the grass in 2 years. There's skunks coming out of the yard. I just want to know what the process is, because I've called the township and they it never went anywhere with it, so.
Well, the person didn't, well, go ahead, I'll let you finish.
No,
Give
yeah,
me your
no,
time.
so there's been a few times on different occasions,
Okay.
and it wasn't just for blight, but I wasn't getting any responses back, so I just want to know
It was
what I have to
1795
do
Maple?
to get something done here.
Say 1795 Maple.
My address?
Yeah.
1795.
So I'd have to, the reason it's difficult to talk about them in here is because we have, I think, about 60 properties currently in some form of process as far as enforcement, right? So that ranges anywhere from a first letter to multiple tickets to one property right now that we've issued 8 tickets, and rather than comply, they paid every ticket. Except for the last one where they didn't show up in court, now there's a warrant out for their arrest.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's difficult to speak on where any one individual property is. I can call you tomorrow and let you know where we're at on that specific property.
Yeah.
If you'd like, what's your number? Is it on the sheet?
No, it's not. I can give it to you.
Why
Yeah.
don't we put it
Yeah.
on the sheet?
If you want to just write it on the sheet there.
Okay, so if
And I'll give you a call
they
tomorrow.
pay a fine, they're just in the clear and,
Well, they're not in the clear. They wind up coming back to court if they don't have it fixed within 30 days.
okay,
Then we reissue a ticket, and we continue to go through the process.
okay.
One of the challenges is compliance is the issue,
Yeah.
more so than enforcement, because people just, they don't care to comply, right? So, And those that, we have on multiple occasions gotten a judgment from a court to go in and clean up. I think every single one of those properties are right back in blight. And it's just because the people there, they don't, I mean, it's the way they live, you know, and so it's difficult sometimes to get it. People like yourself, if we were to issue a letter to you, you'd probably comply right away or call and say, hey, what do I got to do? Unfortunately, not everyone's like that. So, but there are, like I said, I think 60 properties total in some varying stages of enforcement right now.
Yeah, I would love to know where we're at with it,
Sure,
because
yep.
we're gonna probably put up a privacy fence, and that's gonna cost me $15,000 to do, just to
Right.
not see that junk anymore. And it's, I mean, I can't sell my property. Who wants to live next to it, so.
Okay, I'll call you tomorrow. Just make sure you give her your phone number there. Any other public comment tonight? I don't know how to make that stop. All right. All right, moving on to Chief Kratz. You're not limited to 3 minutes.
Excuse me?
Four.
Four? Okay. Oh, yeah, I had a couple things for you, expenditures over $500, and this is the plan that we've had at Station 2 for the last today's April 1st, which is my 11th year anniversary as being your fire chief, so, since that year, so 2014. So we're looking at the first one. I'm not sure what line it is with the your packet, but we can look at the tank removal. The tank that's in that station right now it'll hold 500 gallons of water. Keep in mind, it's halfway filled with silt. No way to clean it out. There was never a relief valve or anything like that. It's time to go. We need to make room there too. Before, we used to use that to fill water into our trucks, but now we have a hydrant inside of Station 1. It's just as easier and better for our trucks to fill it from Station 1 than it is to put well water in the trucks at Station 2. So it'll give us the room we need. They will also put in, of course, a smaller tank closer to the wall, and then that space will be utilized for future heating and cooling system that we're working on for the next proposal for you guys. So I've asked multiple well drillers to come out and look at this, and some of them want me to send them pictures and show them what they need to do, and I says, well, I finally got a hold of the guy who was the original guy to put the well in, which is A and B. He's very familiar with it, and he says, I remember putting that thing in. It's an old guy too, and his son that's running it. I remember putting that thing in before we had to register wells. He says it's an 8-inch well, and it's 160 feet in the ground. And, you know, so he says it's strong. He says he checked it when he was there, the thing's working great, beautiful. So what we want to do, and they're the ones that actually gave me the best deal for what I wanted. I needed them to remove the tank too. The other well driller or well companies would do nothing with the tank. So we had to actually have the tank moved out ourselves. So, and they're going to grind it out instead of using torches to cut it out, which is better. So that's where that proposal is. It does fall under capital improvement plan. There's money in there for that, as you can see in the request for expenditures.
Okay, so you want us on this particular matter, you're recommending that we use A and B well drilling?
Yes,
Up for
sir.
that?
Yep.
Because they met the qualifications of everything that.
Yep, and they're doing everything we've asked them to do.
All right, any questions from the board? All right, do we have a motion on that?
I would make a motion to use A and B well drilling for $3,500.
All right, we have a motion by trustee Bowen. Any support? Support by trustee Riley. Any further questions on that? Roll call, please.
Bowen,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
Guzekowski.
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Rubel,
Yes.
Deland,
Yes.
Jokers,
Yes.
motion carries.
Next one I have for you is stairway at Station 2. A couple meetings ago, I sent out pictures of what that looks like. It's time to be replaced. The quotes are listed there, and I recommend the first one. they were kind of all over the place a little bit. Not everybody wanted to do the spirals a little different, you know, because you gotta have rails going up. So, but we wanted to make sure that we had enough support going up the stairs, and we wanted to use plastic for the toe kick and the steps. Or not the plastic, but I remember the composite material, so one that lasts longer, it's in a watered environment because of the fire station, and it's easier to clean. So that's my recommendation on that one.
All right, questions from the board?
I'd support that, by the way.
Are you recommending set in stone?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
All right, do we have a motion for that?
Yes.
All right, motion by trustee Riley, do we have support?
I'll support that.
All right, support by trustee Lokers, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Riley,
Yes.
Wilkers,
Yes.
Guzekowski,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Rubel,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Deland,
Yes.
motion carried.
I got a couple more things that are on the agenda real quick. The overpass construction that's happening at Allen Road there, we did have a couple issues already with trains. And they're parked there, and I've had them from 20 minutes to like an hour and 40 minutes. I mean, it's like an act of God to get that train to move. So we do follow through with complaints through MDOT, the railroad, CNN police, and of course the local people, they just don't, the railroad yard, they just don't care. So just so you're aware of it. And, you know, so thank God nothing has happened that we had to deal with it, so.
Just so you guys know, we have been, or me personally, we've been in contact with the road commission and MDOT from the very beginning of hearing about this project, which was over a year ago. And I do want to thank the road commission. The road commission's been very stern with MDOT about this particular issue. Unfortunately, it's a little bit out of MDOT's hands. I mean, the federal legislation dictates how long trains can be stopped. And there's no restriction on that. So we need their cooperation, and at this point, they're not always cooperating. When this project started, just before it started this year, MDOT had received confirmation from CN Railroad that they would not block that intersection for more than 10 minutes. But that lasted, I think, a day, so it didn't last very long. There is an emergency number. We were told to call that emergency number. I've published that emergency number to anyone that's asked. I can, if you want it, I'll give it to you. And that's about all we have. I know there was another posting about somebody calling some administrative person there. I wouldn't do that. That person's not there all the time. The emergency line should be manned all the time. So I would recommend that you call the emergency number if it's there for more than 10 minutes. And I know that MDOT is also making that phone call. So they are paying attention to that while they're working. If they see that the train is there for more than 10 minutes, they are calling that emergency number as well.
Floyd Hubbard, retired firefighter Floyd Hubbard, 45 years of service, passed away Sunday. His past review is actually Thursday. So if you guys want to make it to that, it'd be great. So, and our pancake breakfast, May 18th, almost gave you the wrong date. I'd have been in trouble with that one. But May 18th, you should see the flyers out there on social media and stuff like that as far as the cost and the times and stuff like that.
Time and location?
Station 1, and I think it starts at 8. It's on the flyer, sorry. If you show up at 8, we're not ready, I'll feed you.
No, I'm talking about for Floyd.
Floyd, it's in his obituary, but it's Thursday. The regular service is from 12 to 1, and the past review and the military service is from 1 to 2.
Okay.
Thursday the 3rd. So.
Just speaking on the Allen Road deal, the other, it was Sunday night or whatever, there's a bad accident right here at Wadhams and Griswold.
Yes, it was.
And the train, I think it just went through. And because it was down, because I had to go that way, I wanted to go this way.
Yeah, I had to turn around too.
And it does create a problem. That train is across, and you guys aren't gonna get here until you go that way.
Exactly. And then what we've done to help curb the project or curb the issue is we have automatic mutual aid set up with Portland Township. Anything but medicals are automatically dispatched to anything north of I-69 to Allen Road. So that'll help out with some of the response. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to new business. We did post for the park attendant position. I put down 60, but I think it was more like 200 applicants total for that position. We posted on Facebook, on our website, and on Indeed. had some really, really strong applicants for the position. We were able to narrow it down to 8. Myself, Clerk Rubel, and Treasurer Jackson interviewed all 8. Honestly, any one of those people could have filled the spot. They not only, I think every one of them had background not only in parks, but also in underground work or some sort of municipal work related to water and sewer and other things, so extremely qualified individuals. We did narrow it down to 1, and that was David Oles. He seemed to be the best fit based on his availability and qualifications, and so it's our recommendation that we hire David Oles for the park attendant position. Questions?
Is he gonna receive benefits?
Yes,
with
he
the job?
would, yes,
Okay, so,
because he'll be full-time.
okay, so he'll be able to take or not take health insurance?
Correct.
Will he be receiving any sort of stipend for not taking insurance?
We have an ordinance that requires that they get a stipend if they do not take insurance, yes.
Okay.
Other questions? All right, do we have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to hire David Oles as a park attendant, full-time position.
All right, we have a motion by Treasurer Jackson. Do we have support?
I'll support that.
Support by Trustee Deland. Any further discussion? Questions? Roll call, please.
Jackson,
Yes.
Deland,
Yes.
Guzekowski.
Yes.
Rubel,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Wilkers,
Yes.
and Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Oh, we can bring that up after, we can bring it up in the report. All right, moving on to the union contract. So we finally got this back. I think in talking with the business representative, he was kind of waiting to see where things shook out with the legislature and sick leave. So we kind of waited a little long on getting the thing back. But myself, Trustee Riley, and Trustee Deland did meet with the union probably a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago. We kind of sat down beforehand, had some ideas of what we would like to see, and that's pretty close to where we're at. So I did put a summary in there of some various things. They did ask that we do a dues checkoff. Basically, that means we withhold the dues. We do have to have employee authorization to do that. They streamlined the grievance steps. It was a little bit confusing. Originally, the way it was working, they wound up meeting with the department head twice, which didn't make any sense, so we eliminated one of those steps. The medical insurance costs are up. I did have a discussion with Mr. Chavez about that. He said that they are still kind of recuperating from all the COVID costs, but that moving forward, we should see smaller increases in insurance costs. We changed the vacation day language to match the DPW language, which basically gives 1 day per year after 10 instead of waiting until the 15th year. Educational expenses, which have to be approved by the township, we raised a maximum of 500 to 1,000. You're not gonna get anything for $500 anymore, so probably not gonna get it for 1,000 either, but we increased the clothing allowance to 75, and then pay increases. Just so you know, the clerical union, we had a pretty rough stretch in the economy there, but their contract were pretty small increases. So we did 8% the first year, 4%, 4%. And then starting pay, just looking at the starting pay, some of them were pretty close to minimum wage. Some of these positions require something much more qualified than that, so we did increase the starting pay on each of the positions. Questions? All right, do we have a motion on that?
I'll make the motion that we approve the clerical contract.
I'll support.
Motion by Trustee Deland, support by Trustee Bowen. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Deland,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Guzekowski.
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Rubel,
Yes.
Wilkers,
Yes.
and Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, moving on to the next agenda item. We had a request for a brownfield from Telto. That is the development at Wadums and Griswold. If you're not familiar with a brownfield, basically how it works is Right now, that property has a certain value to it. Let's say it's $1 million, it's taxed on that value. As the property is developed, the value of that property increases, and basically the Brownfield would capture the difference in the increase in tax revenue. So we would maintain where we're at in tax revenue. The increase in tax revenue would go to the project to offset the cost of infrastructure. Brownfields is an incredibly weird way to do that. In the past, the township has not been able to use brownfields because we didn't meet the requirements of the state of Michigan to do that. Brownfields also were limited to basically blighted and contaminated sites. That was the purpose of a brownfield to begin with, was to clean up sites that are probably undevelopable without that. So it's kind of odd that they've now included, in 2023, started including housing projects for that. I can see a brownfield for cleaning up contaminated sites. I think that makes sense because you're not gonna get a lot of developers wanting to clean up a contaminated site. It's very, very costly. I do have concerns about doing it for a housing development. First of all, I think the goal of this is to drive down the price of the house, but what that does is it drives down the price of all houses now, because now you're gonna sell that house at a price below its market value. And now when you do assessing, you do it based on sales. So it's gonna drive the value of properties all around it down, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And again, I think brownfields can be helpful, but I don't understand
I
why
didn't
you'd
see
wanna
any
do it.
benefit to the township itself.
I didn't
Well,
either.
that, and we've got two other housing developments that have either
Exactly.
gone through planning or about to go through planning. They're not asking for a brownfield. But if I do it for one,
Then
I
they're
can
all
assure you that they're all going to do it,
Right.
right? So to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So we can reject the request. We can also have a public hearing to get input from the community. Whatever the board wants to do. My recommendation would be is that we just reject the request.
It caused a lot of commotion in Algonac.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see
Lots.
that.
Yep.
They paused
Yeah.
it.
Residents were very upset that they're getting all this money to put in sidewalks and all this stuff. Meanwhile, residents who have homes,
Right.
they're
it's
paying
true.
property taxes
Yeah,
and having to have their property taxes increased, and no one was happy. They shelved the whole thing. The county won't award it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Other
Is
comments?
that your motion to reject it?
I'm not.
I'll support that.
Yeah.
All right, so motion by trustee Lopez, support by trustee Deland. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the I-69 Trade Corridor and Next Michigan Development Corp. By the way, there's a lot of information. If you want more information on Brownfield, I did include it in the packet so you can see more information on that. This is something we've belonged to since the state of Michigan formed this. There are a lot of economic tools that, as a township, we did not have access to as a standalone community. We simply didn't meet one of the requirements that the state of Michigan has, typically it's population. However, joining the Next Michigan Development Corp. Was one way that we would have access to that. It only costs us $500 a year. However, the county now is discussing whether they're going to stay in the Next Michigan Development Corp. If they don't, we're kind of out on an island by ourselves. And to me, it wouldn't make any sense. I would doubt that, board, the Next Michigan Development Corp. Board has to approve projects in the area. We're not gonna have any power if the county's not a part of that. We would kind of be standing up alone by ourselves, although Marysville and City of Port Huron and City of St. Clair are both involved. The original agreement requires a 6-month notification for withdrawal, and my recommendation is that we do that. Questions? So I'll make that motion. I'll make a motion that we withdraw from the Next Michigan Development Corp.
I'll support that.
All right, so we have a motion, we have support. Any further discussion? Roll call on that, please.
Kimball
Yes.
Deland.
Yes.
Jackson.
Yes.
Kimball.
Yes.
Bowen.
Yes.
Wilbur.
Yes.
Riley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, any other audience participation tonight?
Yes.
Oh, Eva, I have a question for Elise.
Diana Nielsen, 5212 Griswold Road. Last meeting, Becky, you said that the lawn person was gonna start April 1st. Is that position open, or is that gonna start? There was some question about, Bobby Nielsen has been doing the lawns, and there was some question about whether he was gonna be starting or not.
Well, I think we're gonna talk about that just a minute in one of our reports, so.
In your
Yep.
report, okay. Thank you.
Any other audience participation?
No, not that I have.
All right, we'll move on. So our new phone system is in, it's working. Seems to all be going good so far. I will tell you that if you, I use the phone app with mine. If your phone gets broken and you have to replace it, the phone app doesn't work until you reinstall everything, and you have to go through the company to get it to work. But they were great about helping me, and it worked out fine. So, but it's nice to have. I know we've had some minor issues here in the office, and they've been really good about coming back to try to make sure that everything is working satisfactorily. So, once the numbers are fully ported, we'll cancel our service with Xfinity or Comcast, whatever they call themselves these days. We did apply for the grant, so I just want to let you confirm that that did get applied for the DNR grant. I do want to thank Kim Harmer from City of Port Huron. She was a great help. She reviewed the application, gave me some thoughts and ideas, added some things. I created a lot of the maps, but she said she would create some of them, so she did. So she created some of the maps that we needed. So now we'll go into kind of a limbo time where they'll be under review. We'll get feedback from Department of Natural Resources sometime around November. At that point, they will allow us to make any modifications that we need to strengthen the application should we need to before we get a final answer. So a little bit of a drawn-out process, but it is in the process. So also, I know we had a audience member last week ask about getting things in writing as far as complaints. I did forward him our policy language related to that requires that we receive complaints in writing. He did let me know that he would not be complying with that, as he doesn't feel he needs to comply with that. So I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why, but just so you are aware of that. Then we had back on the applications. So on the applications, with some of the changes that we've made, a lot of these guys had really good qualifications for other opportunities within the township. So was it Thomas Hine, is that his name?
Yes.
So Thomas Hine was one of those. I know that our intent is to look for summer help like we've used in the past for the DPW. Guy's got underground experience, water sewer experience, and interviewed well, and we just think he would be a good addition to just fill that. Instead of reposting, since we had so many people that already qualified for that position and we were already interviewing them. So if you guys are good with that, we would just hire Thomas Hine for the summer help,
So
to
he
help
would-
with the mapping. I think we're gonna do some camera stuff and some other things just to identify
He can grasp it.
illegal connections and other things within the sewer
How
system.
are we doing on our GIS mapping?
I don't know where we're at on that. Do you know where we're at on that?
We're about 100 short at this point, and hopefully they're able to catch up with that. A lot of the taps are not ones that are visible at this point, and so they're having to do a lot of searching. We're looking into an apparatus from Ditch Witch that the guys will be able to follow the sewer lines from the houses at this point, yeah.
So our summer help would be our grass cutter then?
No,
No.
this is, no, this
You
is.
Okay.
usually get,
They
like
work
a
with the
college
cemetery.
or
Okay.
something
Yeah.
comes in and works with the DPW.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion on Thomas Hine.
I'll make that motion if we, do we have it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you don't make that?
I'll support it. I'll make the motion, yeah.
All right, motion by trustee Deland, do we have support?
I'll support.
Support by trustee Bowen, any further discussion? Roll call on that, please.
Deland,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Guzekowski,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Rubel,
Yes.
Lopers,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, so then the other one was on the grass cutting. Dennis did not put in for the parks position, but Dennis was extremely good at cutting grass. And he is very reliable. And my recommendation is that we just take Dennis and move him over to the grass cutter spot. He's gonna be more reliable, and I think he would do a good job. He did a good job with the parks, so my recommendation would be that we just move Dennis into that spot. Questions on that?
Does he want that spot? If
He-
he didn't, he didn't?
he does,
Oh,
yeah.
he did, okay.
Mhm.
You said he did apply for the,
He did apply for the parks position.
he
yeah.
didn't want to be full-time.
Well, the parks position was gonna require, I think, things that probably were outside of his skill set a little bit, so, because we're requiring some maintenance and some other things that, that's good at cutting grass, honestly, but, so that would be my recommendation, that we just move him into the grass cutter spot. Questions, comments on that? All right, do we have a motion on that?
I'd make a motion.
Motion by trustee Riley, do we have support?
I'll support.
Support by treasurer Jackson. Any further discussion? Roll call on that, please.
Riley,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Guzekowski,
Yes.
Rubel,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Deland,
Yes.
Lopers,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, and that's all I have for today. Clerk Rubel?
As of tomorrow at 8 o'clock, the weight restrictions are gonna be off. Yeah. Tri-County Aquatics contacted me, and we need to approve a service contract with them once again. We usually have them come out 3 times a year for the ponds, and the cost is $1,425, so I need to have approval from the board to do that.
I recommend that. I mean, it's made a big difference in the condition of the pond out there. Like, anything that we do that can.
Do they usually do it 4 times? I thought they only did
3
it 2.
times.
Three.
3
Yeah,
times.
3 times. It definitely makes a difference on, in the pond, and I want people that are out there to be safe, and this definitely helps keep weeds down in the pond. All right, do we have a motion on that?
I'll make the
Karen did.
motion.
Oh, Karen made the
Oh.
motion? All right.
Okay.
Motion by trustee Deland?
Yep. I'll make the
Okay.
motion.
Do we have support?
I'll support.
Support by treasurer Jackson. Any further discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Deland,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Guzekowski.
Yes.
Rubel,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Lopers,
Yes.
Riley,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, also the elections, we received a $10,000 grant several months ago, and we've not used the monies, and we found out about 2 months ago that our laptops that we have, that we use for elections, have succeeded their
Useful life.
lifetime. So we need to purchase 5 more. We're gonna use the grant money for that, and the cost is going to be $4,629.95, and it will be all used for grant money, with the grant money. And I just need your approval.
All right, do we have a motion on that?
I'd so move.
Oh, and I'll support that.
Motion by trustee Riley, support by trustee Deland. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Riley,
Yes.
Deland,
Yes.
Guzekowski,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Rubel,
Yes?
Bowen,
Yes.
Lopers,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, the newsletter is going to be coming out on May 1st. If you have an article that needs to go into the newsletter, Rob, I need to have it by April 7th. Just
Rob.
saying, Rob, April the 7th. And the spring cleanup date has been set for May 17th. At this point, we're not going to be taking tires, but we are looking into getting another funding grant, and hopefully we get that approved so we can have that for our fall cleanup. And that's all I have.
All right.
What was that date, I'm sorry?
May 17th, and
May
yes, I'm
17th.
gonna need help.
All right, Treasurer Jackson?
Well, tax collection is gone by the wayside now. Most all the funds have been distributed out. Might be a few little balance figures to go to the school districts. But that's where we're at. Special assessment bills will be coming out. That's very few now, because we just got Smiths Creek primarily to collect. That's where we're going on that end. Now's the time to get all the figures and budget figures to all the entities in the world, USDA and all them. They want all that information to know what we're doing. They don't want us to do anything that they don't want to know, that they want to know. Anyway, cash distribution account is at $2,111,282.06. The tax account is at $189,573.85. A week ago, that was about 2 million. So that money's all been distributed out. What's left there is primarily what we owe Blue Water Storage for a tax rebate. And then trust and agency, the payroll account, performance bond account is at $64,557.78. And the utility fund, which is water and sewer, $1,080,222.72. Huntington Bank CD, which is a water CD, $279,283.64. Chase is a savings account, a general fund account, $250,286.08. Tri-County, another water fund, $265,179.67. Advia, $104,962.70. North Star, $260,988.39, making cash available to $4,606,336.89. That's primarily all that I have at this time.
Trustee Lokers?
I had a perspective on the whole blight issue for the young lady in the audience. Rob, isn't there a rule that if you have vehicles in your yard, they have to be registered and insured?
That's correct, yeah.
So I mean, and then another route too, you could call the health department, because what you're explaining is a health issue. So that's another idea. And then you could even do some research. I don't know what the car capacity is, but if it exceeds a certain amount, it might classify as a junkyard. And if he doesn't have the licensing to have a junkyard, well, he's breaking ordinance, he's breaking all kinds of laws. So, yeah, I mean, that's just that. And then I heard they were, at first I thought they were doing maintenance on the bridge, the overpass. It's a complete demolition.
Well, not a complete demolition, so the understructure of the bridge will remain. They will be repairing some of it.
Just
but
the decks?
The decking is being completely removed.
Okay.
But I did see that it said like it will take up to 4 months.
Yeah, I think their original schedule was 3.
Yeah,
Okay. That's all I've got.
be a long summer.
Yeah, Trustee Deland?
Terrible.
I was just wondering if we could maybe do some extra signage for the cleanup this year.
Okay.
Nothing extravagant, but last year, I think a lot of people didn't know about it because they said their newsletter had come like the day before or something like that, but maybe just something
Okay.
out there for that. And then, I was hoping that Chief Gratz was gonna be in here, but years ago, for the RISA building, the, skill center and stuff over there on Range Road, did we kinda, there was something that had to do with that where, for emergency response purposes, that was, like given to Marysville for that? If there was ever like an emergency there, do you remember anything?
Yeah, that was before
So-
I was in office, but I do know that it was related to a variety of reasons, but it really doesn't matter, because the city of Marysville can annex it. So, I mean, we did wind up, as far as I know, we signed an agreement. They gave us some cash for it or something, but it's not a property that we collected taxes on anyway.
Right, so I was just
So-
kind of wondering, like with that new facility down there, farther down with the, you know, they're gonna be working with elderly
Mhm.
people. And I was just wondering what we were gonna do with that.
I think we would fight that, but.
Well, yeah,
I
because
mean,
that'll be a taxable
Right.
thing
Yeah,
there,
that would
so
be,
I was
that'd be a
just-
little bit different, but,
Yeah.
I haven't, I mean,
I mean, we got mutual aid anyway with them, so
Yeah.
if they can get there faster. I was just wondering,
I talk to Randy Fernandez periodically. I've not heard anything
yeah,
like that, but.
okay. And then, Megan had questioned, you know, like, I don't know if the new hires are gonna opt out of insurance, and you said there was a ordinance or something for insurance
Mhm.
stipends?
Yep.
How is that determined?
What do you
Like,
mean?
if they decide to opt out of the insurance?
Yeah, the ordinance is written, I'd have to go back.
Because I
and
didn't
have
see it
in
as
front of
part
me.
of the contract. It like, I know like for
No, it
Denise,
just,
we
the
did
ordinance
something
says
with
if
Denise.
someone's eligible for insurance and they decline it, they get half of the premium back as a stipend,
Okay,
50% of it.
50%. And that's,
Wow.
that's in the ordinance?
While
Yeah.
we're on that, there's a resolution after that that states that no more than $500.
No, that was for Bob Hand. Bob Hand had requested that because he was on either Medicare or Medicaid, and his premium was $500, and he only wanted the $5. So we had adopted a resolution specifically for that. That resolution doesn't override the ordinance, though. The ordinance still says, it's still in existence, it still says 50%.
I think that resolution actually just, it specifically mentioned like not hires, but like voted, like it said that the clerk and the deputy clerk
Yeah,
were
I'd have to look
specifically
at that
named
resolution.
in the
to see.
resolution
But the ordinance is, I mean, the ordinance is
for
very
employees.
specific, that it says for anyone that's eligible for insurance gets a 50% if they choose not to take it.
Are elected officials eligible for insurance?
Just the deputy, the clerk and
There's a
the-
resolution that specified who was eligible back in
Yeah.
probably,
2013.
no, it was before that.
Well,
It was-
it's in
yeah,
our
it
policies
was-
and procedures.
It was a long time ago who
Yeah,
was
'cause-
eligible for it.
Okay. All right, that's all I had questions about.
All right, trustee Bowen?
So your new phones have a phone app, that's fancy. Who uses the phone app? So like that's how you use
don't
it
know.
after hours, right? Like you connect your phone so you can answer your phone after
Mhm.
hours?
Yeah, so instead of it, it'll voicemail will stay here. It'll send an email, so anyone that gets a voicemail automatically gets an email with the voice transcription. Anyone that wants to, it can ring your phone. It's also ringing the phone to the office at the same time.
Like
So
call forwarding type thing, kind of?
it works like call forwarding, it's just ringing both phones. I don't know who all uses it, to be honest with you.
So
I
you're,
use why anybody would want it.
right? But you're
Well, some of
allowing,
us do, I mean,
but you're
Well, you
allowing
would
everyone,
because you
all
get
of the,
DPW
girls to
water
use
main
it?
break stuff.
well,
I
yeah,
get those
that would-
I
automatically
wouldn't,
anyway.
I wouldn't imagine that anyone in the office would, you're talking about the clerical workers, I
Yeah.
can't imagine that any of them would want that.
I mean, I wouldn't want it either, but I'm just thinking like if they're working outside of the office hours.
I don't,
I mean, I
we
got a
don't,
call, I
we
got a
don't
call at
let,
8:30 last night.
we don't let the clerical work outside of office
Right, but if
hours.
your
I'd have
phone
to pay
was
'em.
forwarding and you're answering it, then you're technically working, right?
I get paid the same amount whether I answer a phone
I'm
or
just
not,
saying if-
24 hours a day, so.
If Emily or Shelley were,
Why would they?
to-
That's what I'm wondering, why would they?
I'm
It's-
just
No,
saying.
they can't, because then we would have to pay them.
That's what I'm asking. So like Michelle
I get
isn't
paid the
using
same
it,
way.
Emily's not using
No.
it.
Why-
Okay,
why would
that
they?
was my question.
It's just an option, you don't have to
Right.
take.
I was just asking.
Yeah, just another one to.
I'm just asking.
I think, do you use it?
I use it. I mean, I get calls at 2, 3
Right,
o'clock
I
in
mean,
the
I
morning
can see
all
you
the
guys
time.
using it,
Yeah, but you won't
definitely.
call anymore either.
Right, right.
What's interesting though is if I call you, if you call me on that and I call you back, it looks like I'm calling from the
That's kind of nice.
which is interesting too.
That's nice, though.
Yeah.
Then I wouldn't have to give out my cell phone number, you know, but I'm okay with that. Everyone's had it forever anyway, so. Other questions?
That was all I had.
Trustee Riley?
Yeah, I got something I've been doing some looking at. Yeah, I've had the pleasure of being on different committees, different townships, different county, with a county, not different county. And in doing that, you look at the people that are running and doing the job the way it should be done. And I had the pleasure of sitting on the committee that took care of our employees in the office, Clerical plus the DPW. And looking back at that, when we first started, I was surprised on the wages, that they were lower than the average and lower than other townships around. Not that you have to be rich, but in the same token, it's keeps good employees. If you don't take care of your employees, and they say, well, if they don't like, we can leave. If you don't want to sit in that position, they should be nominated, they shouldn't run. That sounds good and it sounds easy to blow it off, but the big thing is, if you got and I'm gonna use the board as an example, if you got a good board and things are running the way they should, and the hours that they put in, and the meetings you go to, et cetera, we gave an 8% raise that you mentioned a few minutes ago to the clerical as well as the DPW fellows, et cetera, and I'm 100% in favor of that because it doesn't bring them up to the top as a lot of them are, but at least it puts them in the area of making an income and not have to work 2 jobs. So what I'd like to put on the agenda is I'd like to see, I know for a fact, in looking into this, that there's board members sitting up here that haven't had a raise in 15, 17 years. And I was just shocked when I heard that, and I looked at what other ones are making in other areas and what we are doing with our board. And in my opinion, and I'm certainly not looking to I didn't get in this I got in because I thought maybe with my background I could help on different issues. I was with the fire department in Emporia Township for 20 years, got a good feel for that. I got a good feel for a lot of areas, and I figured it's time we take care of our employees, not to make them rich, but to at least pat them on the back and say, hey, this isn't, you can make more if you want, but I want to put on the agenda for a discussion, make an agreement, whatever the paperwork's call for an 8% increase one time. And as we did with the employees and the clerical and the other, we dropped to 4%, 4%, another. So it's not like, oh God, we're giving the farm away. But I'd like to see that put on the agenda. I think it's worthwhile. We've got people up here that, in fact, I don't want to go into ages, but there's some old devils up here, you know. But there's got some good people that have done a darn good job before I ever had anything to do with coming in here. But I've done a little looking into it, and that's what I'd like to put on the agenda, an increase of 8% discussed at the next meeting. And it's not to say, oh God, Kimball's they're paying their people top-notch dollars. No, it's just to bring you up a little bit, and the way it's, in my opinion, it should be.
Okay, anything else? Trustee
No.
Riley? All right. Seeing nothing else, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion that we adjourn, 7:35.
All right, motion by trustee Deland, do we have support?
I'll support.
Support by trustee Bowen, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? We are adjourned.
See this?
I was going to make the motion to adjourn. Every time.
Hey, Rob.
You beat me